Alright, now that I have all my poses done, I'm going to go ahead and first of all look at all the poses. I want to go ahead and get rid of my grid on the floor here. The icon here, you can press that one, it'll get rid of it, or you can just go to show all the way down, grid, have it disappear. I'm going to go ahead and make a geometry, create polygon primitive. I'm going to go ahead and make a cube and just sort of scale it to what I need it to be. Oops, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything, but just enough to show that there is a ground plane underneath them. So say right here, and I'm gonna so what I'm gonna do now is basically make a character sheet or a model sheet or a pose sheet, however you want to say it. There's gonna be multiple poses. Basically, I'm just generally using what we have right here, what I've done as my character sheet. So I'm gonna basically screen print or render or whatever you feel most comfortable with, and you're gonna make basically a collage of all these poses and put them on one sheet. So while you're building the character, while you're animating the character, you always have reference to sort of grab at any point in time that are model sheets of this character, that are poses of this character. Most of them will be used, and most of the time what happens is a group of animators on the team will sort of collectively do this, and they'll have several guides to sort of stay on model, stay in character type of thing. But for this exercise, it's going to simply have a few poses and utilize that. I'm going to show a quick way that I would do a character sheet for this character, and basically I like to use the snippet tool from within my Windows, and if you have a different program you can do the same thing, or if you just want to take a screenshot. Just what I'm going to do first though is going to add the undershading, or not undershading, but the ambient occlusion, and go ahead and do the alias, get all the little edges out and the little shading in there. I don't have any light, so I'm not going to press that. And if you want to make renders, you can. You can also hit Alt B, and that'll change your background color if you choose to have a different color. Since my character is gray, and let's sort of go with this. I don't know. Then we'll go with this one. It doesn't fight my eyes as much, but you can feel welcome to change yours. So I'm going to go with this. Use the snippet tool. If I can get it to work. It's way over here. And basically draw out, or not draw out. Save the. I'm going to save these poses. Already got a whole collective of them saved. Once all my poses are saved, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and go to my any of my ortho views. I'm going to go to the front view. Just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to get rid of everything, none, except for image plane, which is going to be Alt 4. I'm going to go to Alt 2 and get rid of the mesh, just have it disappear. I'm going to go to show, or view, sorry, I'm going to view, all the way down to image planes, import image. Find the location I saved all my character poses at, and then from here I'm just going to start, scale this up, put my poses up, and I'm going to continue to do the same thing, import image plane, and grab the rest of my images. Alright, so now that I have all my images, I'm going to go in my perspective and go Alt 4. All my images are going to come up. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the background, push them back a little bit. And now from here, to make a character sheet, let me get him out the way. I'm just going to line these up. I may overlap them a little bit here and there. Now say I had 24 of these poses, or even a ton more. And what you want to have is enough poses to so that you don't have to go digging or searching for anything else during your animations. You have somewhat everything there and readily available for you to access. Now obviously you can use Photoshop or any other program to sort of throw this in, but if you have a character sheet somewhat like this, imagine all these poses are completely different styles or whatever, it'll be a lot easier for you to sort of look at the character that you're working on, check out the character sheet, get ideas from it, utilize these poses, and generally you would have all your poses, from your idle poses to your combat to passive to down states, all that stuff would sort of be there, and then some inspirational poses that would just be more exploration type of stuff. Okay, so now that we built our character sheet and we got that going, now we want to actually make our idle pose. And there's several key things that I wanted to share with you before we actually dig down and create the whole idle pose. One of those things, I want to make sure I always have my gimbal lock controller on, or if you have another way on a different kind of rig, because if you're using a different kind of rig, just sort of have it so you can use rotation and your translation on two different cog controllers. They both basically move the whole character. One of them is the parent of the other, so use the one that is not, or that's the parent of all of it, as the translation controller, and utilize the one that isn't as your rotation. The reason that is, if the character's doing a flip, say he's doing a forward flip, and you got all your keys on this controller to do it a certain way, and then you got all your flipping keys, your rotation keys on this controller. This will allow you to easily get it back. If anything gimbal locks or rotation issues, you can just focus on this one controller instead of having to balance two different controllers with all the keys on those two controllers. It just makes the life a little bit easier. Alright, so with this, the other thing I want to think about is what is my character's first step? What is my run or my walk? What is the first step? So if you have a walk cycle and the pose starts off in this pose, or it starts off in the middle frame and this foot's up, generally I would want to have this foot back in my idle pose, just so when it does kick off, that foot sort of lifts off, as if when it goes to blend, it sort of makes that step look sort of natural. So a lot of times, a lot of game engines with the technology now, they have ways to sort of indicate which foot is in the air or which foot's about to step on the ground. So a lot of this information you may not even need, but it's always, as an animator, you always want to be at least a little bit in control of what things are, so it makes it a little bit easier on yourself when you make animations, and at least you know if those engines that you're using, or if the technology that you're using does not have it, it will somewhat blend a little bit easier. So for my idle, I want them standing sort of sideways, so I want to rotate this portion of it, keep my translation the same. I want to throw his arms into IK. I want to throw it into FK. And I'm just going to start posing this guy out. For the most part though, for the head and the shoulders, I normally have those on the parent switching. I normally have them in world, just so that when I move the torso, the arms stay in the same orientation. But see how my head's sort of going back and forth? I want my head to be stabilized, so I also want it to be to world, so if I go to move it a lot, it stabilizes, like in real life. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead and build out this guy's pose. Alright, now that I got my character's idle pose, from here, let me throw up my character sheet. Now that I got my idle pose, from here, I can go ahead and use this as my pose sheet. Now that I got the character here with all the idle poses in the background, makes for a nice little collage if you want per se. But now that my idle's set and where it needs to be, I can start on my first animation, which will be my idle animation, just to get that nice smooth looping animation so that the character will have something in its big stance. Alright, so the next thing will be the idle animation, and then we'll go into the walks and the runs and the jumps and probably an attack, and then get this guy in game. Alright, cool. That was a good one.